Something had jumped with great speed behind a tree. It could have been a bear, or a man, or a monkey, I could not tell. I was very frightened, and I could not move. Then I saw it again, running on 2 legs. It was dark and strange and bent over, but I knew that it was a man. I had a pistol with me, and that now made me feel a little braver. I started to walk to where the man was. He had been hiding behind a tree, but as soon as I came closer he stepped out to meet me. "Who are you?" I asked. "Ben Gunn," he answered. "I am poor Ben Gunn. And I haven't spoken to anyone for 3 years. 3 years!" I cried. I could now see that he was a white man, but that his skin had been burnt by the sun. He was wearing bits of old seaman's clothing, and these bits were held together with sticks, various buttons and bits of string. He had an old belt around his waist, which was the only thing that looked normal about him. "I was marooned 3 years ago," he said. "I had heard the word, and knew that it meant being left alone by your shipmates on a distant island with only a gun to help you survive. I've lived on goats, berries and fish since then," he continued. "You haven't got a bit of cheese with you, have you?" "I've been dreaming of cheese." "Provided that I get on board again," I said, "you will have lots of cheese." "On board?" he repeated. "What's your name?" he asked. "Jim," I told him. "Well, Jim, I've thought about it on this lonely island, and I'm a changed man. You won't see me drinking rum again. Or, well, just a little for luck, of course. And I'm going to be good. And," he looked around him carefully, "I am rich. Rich. And I'll tell you something. I'll give you some of it, since you were the first man to find me." But with that, he suddenly looked frightened and held my hand hard. "It's not Flint's ship you're from, is it?" he asked. This gave me hope. Perhaps I had found someone who would help me. "No, it's not Flint's ship. Flint is dead," I replied. "But there are some of Flint's crew aboard, which is bad news for the rest of us." "Not a man with 1 leg," he said. "Silver?" I asked. "Yes, that was his name. If you were sent by him, then I'm a dead man," he said quietly. I had decided what to do in a moment. I told him all about our voyage, and the crisis we were now in. He listened carefully, and then he said, "You're a good lad. Don't you worry, Ben Gunn will help you. Now, do you think your squire would pay me well to help him? And take me back home on the ship? The squire is a gentleman, and anyway, if we don't have the others, we will need you to help sail the ship home," I said. "Well," he continued, "I'll tell you some of my story. I were on Flint's ship when he went to bury the treasure. He took 6 strong sailors with him, but he came back alone. He'd killed them all. Billy Bones was the ship's mate, and Long John looked after the supplies. Well, I was on a different ship 3 years ago when I saw this island again. 'Boys,' I said, 'let's stop and get Flint's treasure.' The captain wasn't happy, but for 12 days we looked for it, and found nothing. Every day they got angrier, and then they said, 'Here's a gun, a pickaxe and a spade. Find it yourself.' Then they all went aboard and left me here. But I've been busy these 3 years, see? And guess what?" He winked at me. "But how are we going to get back on board?" I asked. "Ah," he said, "I've made a small boat. I keep her under the White Rock." Just then, there was the sudden loud crash of a cannon. "They've started to fight," I cried.